All right, rock and roll. Welcome to Taco Tuesday, my friends. March 25th, 2025. Welcome one, welcome all. This is the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I'm your host, John. If you could, real quick, hit the like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. We're starting to build something. 2 years. In 2 years, when we're the biggest podcast in the world, F you, Joe Rogan, huh? You'll say, hey, I was there at the beginning when he was just some guy who couldn't figure out how to play the videos. Actually, in 2 years, I'll probably still be that guy, right? But I'll be your guy, right? We'll be in this together. We could be the dysfunctional crew. Oh, that'll be our story tonight, dysfunction. Dysfunction in the Trump administration. That'll be a new theme. Huh, yeah, that'll be something new. All right, well, I got to tell you, ever since that Howard Lutnick thing, I really been in a sour mood. I mean, I was just off. And like I've told you before, I record this the night before, so it's out first thing in the morning. And today was just one of those days where everything seemed to go wrong. You know, it was just off. You know, I'm sure you've all had them. And everything was going sideways. And there's some days there's just nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, it's just life comes at you in waves, and especially being an emotionally dysfunctional male like I am, I kind of just compartmentalize, and I'm like, okay, I'll just get through this, and I'm going to put it in the little box, and I'm going to put it over here, and then I'll deal with it later, right? And it was, I was dealing with this, I was dealing with that, then I hit some LA traffic, and, things were like that, and I'm really lucky I have friends. I really am. And I got to meet up. I was, once again befuddled by technological challenges, and I met up with super producer Stacy, and she just made it seem better. You know what I mean? Sometimes I hope everybody out there has a friend or a family member that when you're just having a crappy day, you can just call them and go, it's going to be cool. And they don't have to solve stuff. It was just, and I really didn't share what was going on because, you know what, my philosophy's always been, I lived it once. I really don't want to talk about it because then I got to kind of live it again. But that's just me, and that's my dysfunction. And I think for most people, it's healthy if they just get it out. You keep it out of the ecosystem. Me, it's like Alcatraz. Everything goes in its own cell, right? And I just don't open the door again, right? So, just talking to her and her working me through all these things. Like, for instance, on this software, yes, I know. I'm in 65, 70 of these podcasts, plus I do sports. She just explained to me that I got a pause button. I can stop. Like if I have to use the little boys' room or something, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have to turn yellow like I have jaundice. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you. There you go, right? There you go. All right. Thank you, Stacy, for being my friend. Thank you for listening, everybody. And we are off and running. We're taking no prisoners, telling no lies, and some of this stuff you just can't make up, but here we go, everybody. Here we go. We're going to start out with a 2.5 minute clip and let us rock and roll.
Reporter added to that classified signal thread, Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg, thanks so much for joining us on what is no doubt a very busy day for you. So let's start out with, I guess it was March 11th when this really starts to unfold. And business as usual, you get some texts on Signal, which is in.
All right. What I'm going to do through this clip is I'm going to clue you into what's going on. Now, this is Jeffrey Goldberg, and he is the editor of the Atlantic, I would say magazine, but publication. And he obviously has a lot of influential friends. He has a lot of sources. He talks to presidents, he talks to vice presidents. He is inside that circle of getting information. That's how he gets articles. That is how he presents news. That is how he gets us things that typically we wouldn't discover.
Encrypted for people who are really requiring a little more privacy or security on their threads. And you tell us the rest.
I get a message request to connect with Mike Waltz, who's the national security advisor, or someone who's purporting to be Mike Waltz. Not an unusual thing in Washington. I'm a journalist. I've met him in the past. So I accept it. Nothing happens. I sort of forget about it. And then a couple of days later, I'm added to a group of seemingly very, very high national security officials of the United States. I think that this is a spoof. I think that someone is running a hoax,
like a disinformation campaign at this point.
Yeah. The main reason I thought that actually was that it seemed completely absurd to me that the national security leadership of the United States would be meeting on a messaging app to discuss forthcoming military action, and that they would also sort of invite the editor of the Atlantic magazine.
Okay. So let's cue up where we're at. This is a guy. He's running, let's just call it a magazine. I know technically it isn't, but let's call it the magazine, The Atlantic. And he gets a text, an invite to a group text of what he doesn't really know. He says, okay, nothing happens. A couple days later, the group text starts going off about imminent war plans to strike the Houthis in Yemen, right? They have quite a presence. I wouldn't say control. They have quite a presence in the Red Sea, which is, I believe, 10% of our trade comes through there, 40% of Europe. It's a very vital seafaring place. And they're talking about potentially how they're going to strike in this group chat. Now, he doesn't believe it. He thinks it's coming by foreign actors. Somebody's trolling him because who the F is this dude, right? How could we be discussing national security plans with American troops with the guy who's running the Atlantic? Wow, the plot thickens.
To that conversation. So I tracked this for a while, obviously, to see what was going on and see who was trying to entrap me or trick me. There's a long conversation on Friday, the day before, about whether they should or shouldn't take this action in Yemen. It's a robust conversation. It's actually pretty impressive in some ways.
Okay. So he's starting to get information that, okay, they're talking about Yemen, they're talking about the Houthis, and then he starts doing, he's a journalist, he starts doing supplemental investigation. He starts going on X, he starts seeing what's going on, possibly, I guess, where our military is, what is the possibility of strikes, and then he says in the group chat that is not secure, obviously they added a journalist, that they're discussing whether to do strikes, military strikes. And he is, honestly, he is incredulous. He is like, for the longest time, for 2 days, he thought he was being trolled. He thought this was from Iran. He thought this was from North Korea. He thought this was from China, just to get him to bite and put out a tweet or something like this. But he'd been down this little party before. But, of course, he hasn't done this dance with the Trump administration. Let's cue up the clown show a little more.
They're going back and forth. A lot of resentment directed at European allies of the United States, which obviously enhanced the credibility of this chain, because everybody in the chain sounded like the people I know who are in this administration. Nevertheless, it wasn't until Saturday that I was reasonably certain that this wasn't a hoax, that I had actually mistakenly been included in a conversation of the Principals Committee, essentially the leaders of the national security community, including the head of the CIA.
Okay, so now they're having 2 days of robust wink, wink. Obviously, they're not using bisyllable words. That's how you know it's the Trump administration, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? 2 days, they don't notice this guy's on the chat. There's 16 people on the chat. They don't know who this guy, who's this Jeffrey Goldberg guy? Oh, don't worry about it. Like, nobody there understood. He is the editor of The Atlantic. Boy, we got some real sharp cookies there in the White House. Continue, please.
In this discussion of whether the Houthis should be attacked in Yemen.
Can you give us a sense of your reaction in that moment that you realize you are that fly on the wall in this very critical conversation?
Honestly, my reaction was, I think I've discovered a massive security breach in the United States national security system.
No shit. Wow. That just happened. Like, wow. Let me tell you a little story. You know what? I interweave these stories so seamlessly. It's amazing, right? So let me tell you the time I was at the Palms Hotel. And they had the MTV Awards. I know what you're saying. John, you do such a seamless job of integrating this stuff, but what the F does the MTV Awards have to do with breaching national security and maybe even a little treason? Stay with me, folks. Stay with me. So I'm there and I'm playing poker, playing a little poker, little 3-6. And actually, I'm in the room with Chester Bennington. Rest in peace, Chester. Lead singer of Linkin Park. He took his life, sadly, but he was there, just a normal guy. Honestly, I didn't even know who he was, but I'm playing poker. We're 6 people at a table, blah, blah, blah. So they had everybody arrive for the MTV Movie Awards, and then they had a red carpet going through the entryway into the casino. They had velvet ropes on each side, right? But the food court was on the other side of the velvet ropes, right? So as you're walking in, I'm in the poker room on the left. The food court is on the right. As you can see from my girth, food is obviously a high priority to me, right? So I walk up, and there's an opening in the velvet ropes. And that you walk through it, you walk across the red carpet, and you go to the food court. So I walk over there, and I get some food. Get a little food, and I'm walking back to the poker room with my burrito or taco or hamburger, whatever I've got, and my little beverage, right? I'm walking, and it wasn't straight across. You walked in, and then you walked up the red carpet about 20 feet, and then the exit to the food court was over there. So I come in through the door I came in, get my food. I'm going to walk back to the poker room. I walk on the red carpet, and I look over, and I shit you not, I look, and there is Uma Thurman right there. Literally, I am walking the 20 feet to the exit where I'm going to make a exit stage left. Uma Thurman and I are walking the red carpet. There is a photo out there of me and Uma. Always loved Uma. I got a feeling that's probably why she got out of the movies. She says, if I got to walk this red carpet and this ugly mofo is right here next to me, this ain't what I thought it was. Yeah. So let's cue to little Jeffrey Goldberg here. You're in a place you never thought you'd be. You're like, wow, is this real? I am in national security discussions with people in the White House, with people, the defense secretary, the vice president, the national security director, who can make military strikes. I'm that guy. Let's cue it up.
Which is to say, it's almost automatically true that if the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic is being given access to this kind of information, weapon systems and packages and timing and weather in Yemen and all kinds of information about sequencing of particular events, then obviously there's a security breach. The second thought that I had was that, this has obviously been a subject of political debate for years in America, obviously in earnest since the Hillary Clinton email server issue. And Donald Trump, of course, has called for Hillary Clinton to be imprisoned because of her emails. And yet here I am watching his administration engaging in a conversation on my phone, in essence, about matters that one would assume would be kept hidden from open source commercial messaging apps.
Well, I guess maybe he couldn't run the ads on the billboard there in Times Square, right? I mean, at some point, oh my gosh, yes, there we go, right? Let's hold on. There we go. At some point, the Trump administration is going to get the DOJ on this huge security breach, right? And they all chuckled because it was so true. Do we remember the 2 years, actually 8 years, of him saying lock her up because she had, quote unquote, an unsecured server in her house? This journalist was involved in talks, in discussions about war. I am just thankful the Trump administration wasn't around at the end of World War II. He might have left, those plans, besides in his bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. He might have just, dropped them in Times Square. He might have just dropped them at the German embassy, maybe the Japanese embassy. Who knows? It's just bloody amazing. But let's talk about how the fallout continues. So President Trump was briefed yesterday on the Atlantic story. And during the briefing in the White House, Trump expressed his disdain for Goldberg because Goldberg isn't his buddy. He's a journalist. And he reported in 2020 how Trump said in Normandy that Americans who died in war as losers and suckers. Waltz, the national security director, is the one who started this group check. Supposedly, CNN reached out to the White House and they said they have no plans to fire Waltz. Ryan Goodman, a former Defense Department special counsel, said that is actually, in terms of the criminal statute, having gross negligence and mishandling classified information. He's talking about letting Jeffrey Goldberg into the group chat. If it is disclosed to somebody who is unauthorized and on their call was a journalist, this means this was, in fact, a disclosure. Yeah. I guess we're going to have to wait on Pam Bondi or, Kash Patel or one of those great crime fighters to get on this. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, when he isn't too busy hiding in the corner, came out and said it's not a big deal, nothing to see here. Yeah. Right. Of course, he was also involved in those put Hillary in jail chants. Don't worry about Hillary. You know what amazes me about this administration? They're never wrong. They just won't admit it. So after all this comes out, our leader, Trump, repost Musk ex-post. Now listen to this winning thing that came from the little South African apartheid Nazi-loving mother effer. The best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of the Atlantic magazine because no one ever goes there. Now it's no big deal because nobody reads the Atlantic, even though it's the biggest story in the world right now. And trust me, there's going to be another big story. Nothing to see here. Of course, now everybody's running for cover. Pig Hegseth, the defense secretary, denied today that anyone in Trump's cabinet was texting war plans. His exact quote when he got off the plane in Hawaii, I guess he needed a little vacation. Maybe he's over there to, assault or accost another conservative lady. You don't have to just limit it to Monterey, California, pig. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about it, he told reporters when pressed about the report. Yeah. All right. We got that, right? You just can't. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm getting a text here. Hold on. Let's see. John. Okay. John. Will you join us for our little mail-on-mail fun at a suite at Trump Tower this weekend? Let's see who's in this text. Trump? Musk? Howard Lutnick? Yeah. Pig Hegseth? No. Sorry, guys, I'm straight. No, not going to be able to do that today. Nah. Sorry. All right. Let me see how I get out of that group text. Super producer Stacy, help me. Christ's sakes. All right. If this happened under a Democrat, how big would that story be? I mean, and here's the God's honest truth. To me, this. Let me ask you something, honestly. Can you remember anything this big happening under Biden? Okay? You guys can all say, oh, it's Sleepy Joe. He wasn't disclosing war plans. We had airstrikes under Joe. He didn't reveal them. It's like, wow, how do we get to that? Yeah. Joe, we miss you a little more every day as the price of eggs and everything else goes up. All right. We got a couple things going. We got odd things in the news. So a month ago, Elon Musk on his X account and the Doge transparency site said that millions of people that were from 8 to 11 were receiving business loans from Social Security. Part of the corruption. Boy, this guy found the corruption. Yep. Oh, thank you, Elon. Thank you, man with the bad hair transplant. He had his Doge employees cut off the money. He was glee. This actually got put on the wall of receipts. Okay? Saving us money. Thank you, Elon. Thank you. Uh-oh. But come to find out, the New York Times, they weren't actually loans. They were Social Security payments to children who didn't have mothers or fathers because their parents both died. It's called survivor benefits. And the New York Times couldn't get a number on this. How many people were affected by this? There is casual. Well, I don't know how to do it, but I don't really give an F, whatever it is. The approximate number is somewhere between 300 and 700,000 people. So, Howard Lutnick, who's over there chuckling about, hey, you don't get your payment, you just worry about it next month. 300,000+ kids, 8 to 11, didn't get their money. Now, I don't want to hear you mother effers out there say, well, kid doesn't need the money. F you. How do you know? Don't you tell them what they got to do. You can go blow me. You know what? That's part of their survivor benefits, and they lost their goddamn parents, both of them. Yeah. And Elon Musk is trying to cut them off at the knees. I know someone really dear to me, and her grandson got those survivor benefits. Unfortunately, his dad passed away, and that's a beautiful thing. I like that. It's about treating people right and giving them something. I mean, believe me, they only get a certain amount of time that they get these survivor benefits. I don't know enough about that. Thank God I didn't lose my parents or a parent. But this really great young man, he got benefits for, I believe, 4 years or something like that. And you know what? God bless him. I'm glad. I'm glad to see America helping people out. These people, these kids have lost their parents. And this white prick is there saying, no, small business loans, we're going to cut them off. I mean, really, who's getting a small business loan when you're 8 to 11? What, ice cream stand, lemonade stand? Jesus Christ, how stupid are you, idiot? You know? But the great part is the guy you're reporting to is even stupider than you. So I guess you can get away with it. All right. It's kind of a happy moment here. Kind of gets me a little worked up too, though. You know how hard it is to get me worked up, right? Louis DeJoy resigned yesterday as head of the U.S. Postal Service after announcing in February he was going to finally step down. Good riddance, mother effer. Good riddance. This is the guy who in 2020, as head of the Postal Service, who as head of the Postal Service removed post office boxes from outside of post offices that you would drop mail on at after hours, things like that, so they could limit the number of mail-in votes because Trump realized how vulnerable he was to the mail-in voting during COVID in 2020. I've been going to the same post office box for 25 plus years. They've always had outside mailboxes. He took them out. Literally. Boom. There was like 4 of them. There was a drive-through. Sorry, all gotten taken out. And they've never been put back in. And that was because the poll numbers in 2020 showed that mail-in voting was going to go against Trump. Of course, we had no problem with mail-in voting for the previous 60 years when the military was doing it and overwhelmingly voting Republican. That was okay. That's okay, baby. As long as those Republicans get votes, you know? Trump has discussed recently, wait for this, giving the post office stewardship to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. If you want to see what I think about him, look at that little short, F on F that dude. I don't need that guy. All right. I appreciate you being there with me. Sights and wonders. You can't make this stuff up. I appreciate you all being here. I love y'all. Thanks for listening to me and my nonsense. And Uma, if you're out there, I'll always love you. I'll always love you. And if you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Leave some comments. And don't be sad because it's coming to an end. Be glad. Be thankful because we're in this together. I love you guys. We're all in this together. We're going to win. Just believe it. We're going to win. It's going to turn. We're going to save democracy here. All right. I love you. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.